Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. Wanted to talk to you today about the 100% rating, either 100% schedule or 100% permanent and total. Either one of those, kind of both of them. And just kind of, I don't know, have a little discussion with you about the feasibility of obtaining or attaining that 100% designation from the VA. Is it possible? How messed up do you need to be? What is kind of the surrounding factors of reaching that 100%? And I'll tell you, there are some misperceptions out there with regard to the 100% rating. I want to dive into that a little bit too, but mostly just wanted to have a conversation with you about it because I think that there's not enough conversation about how it really works and why it works the way that it does. So with that, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. It helps out the channel immensely. And if you want to look for another way to support the channel, there's actually two ways you can do it. You can let the video run. That tells YouTube that you actually enjoy this content, which then tells YouTube to send it to more veterans or spouses or dependents. The other way is you can become a member, and I really appreciate that a lot. Thank you to all you members. And it also gives you a little star next to your name that allows me to find you quicker in the comments, which makes it really a lot easier. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into it. I'm just trying to change my light a little bit so I don't look too, I don't know, whatever. It's a little bit funky. Sorry about the lighting. All right, so 100%. Is it feasible? Is it something that anybody should be, anybody or everybody should be thinking, okay, I could potentially get there? Well, the answer is yes, you can potentially get there, in my opinion. And the short answer is the longer you served, the more likely you really should be at 100%. And the reason why is, well, first, let's say, what is one of the misperceptions out there? That 100% is the maximum that you can get from the VA for compensation, which means 100%, if that's the maximum, should be reserved for the most severe cases, which you would think, include maybe loss of limb, that type of stuff. So the answer to that is, well, no, there's more than one rating schedule. 100% is not the highest rating schedule payment. Okay, there is the special monthly compensation, SMC, from the VA, which can pay out, quadruple the amount. So it just depends where you're at. So with that in mind, knowing now that the VA's 100% rating is not the highest, well, now all of a sudden that puts a different light on it. So that's the first step, is understanding that, okay, if you can walk and talk and you can, make it to and from the grocery store, or maybe you could ride a bike or something like that, that does not bar you from 100%. The other thing is, and I'll just use a few examples. Think of things that are rated with the VA. Things like gastroesophageal reflux disease, bad heartburn, right? GERD. Think about migraine headaches. Think about insomnia. Think about arthritis. Think about sleep apnea. Okay? Those types of conditions can add up dramatically as far as the VA ratings are concerned. You can get 50% for migraines, 60% for GERD. You can get 50% if you have a CPAP machine for your sleep apnea. It's not rare to see somebody whose only mental health condition is insomnia to be rated at 30% or even 50% or even higher in some cases. Arthritis, right? Arthritis built up, depending on what kind it is. I mean, I've seen 40% for arthritis. I've also seen 100% for arthritis, where it was just a very super severe situation. But for the less severe situations, like I have arthritis, right? It doesn't feel great to stay in one position too long. I kind of need to keep moving around, and that's what makes me feel better. It's too bad that I have a squeak in the floor. I don't know how good you can hear that. It's pretty annoying to me. At some point, I got to throw a screw or something in there. So anyway, the whole point is that those ratings add up substantially and can push you to 100% very quickly. Now, is everybody the same and does everybody have the same conditions? No. It's just an example of some conditions out there that can add up quickly. Now that we kind of have that in our mindset, another thing that and this kind of dispels that, is the idea of I'm only going after the things that really bother me, or I'm only going after the things that I know were caused from my military service, such as injuries. Great, do that. Go after those injuries, right? Your bad back, your bad neck, your knee, your ankle, whatever it is, right? Yes, go after those. But the way that the VA looks at this is not so much, only show me the things that the VA, or show me the things that were caused by your military service. The VA is more, open, specifically with active duty. If you serve active duty from this time frame to that time frame, and you have a condition that's chronic or has some sort of residual effects. Now, chronic conditions could be migraines, could be GERD, the gastroesophageal reflux disease, that type of stuff. So those types of chronic ongoing conditions can be service connected if you can prove your nexus, meaning that you can show that that condition manifested during your time in service. Okay, show me that it first started during your time in service. Now, the best way, right, is if you actually got diagnosed when you were in. For most of us, we didn't, and we got out and we moved on. You would then have to get buddy statements from friends of yours that maybe you served with that can attest to knowing that you had suffered from migraines. Maybe you had a spouse when you were in that would write that letter as well, and then getting that nexus letter from your doctor that also basically states that your condition is at least likely as not to have occurred during your time in service. So now that you have an idea of all of the conditions, and this is where I'm going to say challenge you. It's not really challenge you, but I suggest to you that if you are not at 100%, what you should do is you should really have a sit down with yourself or your spouse and think about all of the conditions that you have. And of those conditions, which ones do you feel started during your time in service at any level? And which ones can you prove started there with any sort of in-service documentation, such as your service treatment records, which if you don't have, utilize the SF-180, Standard Form 180, and order them from National Archives. Then work with that, see what you can prove. If you can't prove it in that way, then you're going to have to do the buddy statements and the nexus letter and all that stuff for your condition. And that's great. Then you need to also think about, well, okay, this one didn't start during my time of service, but it's as a result of another condition, your secondaries, right? Secondaries are really going to be a helpful way for many of you to get to 100%. So, for example, your 10% bad back may cause you insomnia. You may have some arthritis built up in there, and you may have radiculopathy going down both of your lower extremities. Now, you start adding all those up, and you're going to get a much better rating than your 10% back issue. So make sure you utilize secondary issues, secondary conditions. Also, I mentioned insomnia. Remember that with your mental health, it's an umbrella. Every condition that is considered mental health, although there might be, whatever. You might have 5 different sorts of mental health conditions: insomnia, depression, anxiety, PTSD, and something else. Who knows? So we'll say 4 instead. So you have 4. The VA just looks at all your signs and symptoms from those 4, pushes them all together, and goes, this is your rating. Now, the only caveat to that is they'll also consider eating disorders as mental health disorders. So with that, they will take eating disorders and they'll separate those out. So effectively, you could have 2 mental health ratings, one for mental health in general, and then one for eating disorders. So you could have 2. So bulimia or anorexia, and then, PTSD, anxiety, insomnia, and so forth. So just important to remember that has a designation there like that. So now when it comes to your 100%, the reality is that we all, in a way, have some sort of possibility or a road to get there, or get close to it anyway, get above 70 or at least above 60, if you look at your secondaries and as conditions get worse, and you're all encompassing with your mindset of everything that occurred with you. The VA doesn't care that you, let's use somebody who was in for 30 years, we'll just say. So you're in the military for 30 years, right? So you've gotten older. In time, as you get older, things happen to you. The VA doesn't care. What the VA is looking for is, are you the same, or are you worse than when you joined? That's what they're looking for. Are you the same? Then there's nothing for you. Are you worse than when you joined? Because then we could have the conversation about service connection. Now, once you get all these added up and you're at 100%, two things are going to happen. Either the VA is going to say, great, all your conditions add up to 100%, wonderful. Or they're going to say, all your conditions add up to 100%, and we, the VA, believe that none of your conditions are going to get any better. So therefore, we're going to make you permanent and total. So those are your two options. Now, on the permanent and total, it is what it is, right? You're there, you're done. They don't deem any realistic opportunity of you getting better on any of those, so they're not looking to do any future examinations. On the other one, where you're just a scheduler rated at 100%, awesome. You got to 100%. That is the first part of the battle. You made it. Now the question is, can you get it switched over to permanent and total? Well, there's going to be some, could be one of your conditions, could be three of your conditions, could be all of your conditions, who knows? Everything, all of your conditions that add up to 100%, however many they are, there may be some in there, or there would be some in there, that are subject to future examination by the VA. So you need to figure out what conditions those are. Read through the VA paperwork that they sent you and figure out which ones have your future exam likelihood, okay? They'll say something like, subject to a future exam, sometime within the next 5 years or whatever. There's some sort of verbiage like that. Then, if you believe, at the end of the day, you're the patient. You know yourself better than anybody. So if it's a condition that you've had for however long and it has not gotten any better, and you had a conversation with your doctor that was like, hey, look, this is just the way that it is. This is the way life is now. And you're not going to get any better, and all we can do is just kind of hope that it kind of stays where it is and kind of slow the worseness of it, right? The progression. So if you're in that boat, then you need to work with your doctor to put together some sort of a letter explaining to the VA that your condition is static and not likely to get better ever, and most likely will get worse over the years to come. If you're able to do that, you could petition the VA and submit that as evidence and try to get them to switch you from the standard to the permanent and total. Now, another thing that happens sometimes, just to throw it out there, again, just having a discussion with you, is a lot of us don't get to 100% with one swing of the bat, right? It takes multiple swings before we're able to hit that home run. Therefore, it's file a claim, appeal, file another claim, this one died, file another one, supplemental here, higher level review there, another appeal here, and so on. So it's very scattery, and it's a lot of going back in time and figuring it out and putting it all back together. When I see that happen and you finally hit the 100% mark, a lot of times the VA may miss the fact that you have a bunch of static conditions that take you to that 100% rating. And so they might not call you permanent and total. Now, another thing to consider here is when you have your ratings equal up to 100%, you may have ratings you don't even need anymore, right? So, for example, let's say that all of your ratings take you to 100%, and then you had one other rating. Let's say that you had a GERD rating for 10%, right? but you didn't need it. All your other ratings added up to 100, and then you had this GERD rating at 10 or 30%, but you don't need it to get to 100, right? You could take it away all the way, make it a 0, and you'd still be 100%. If all of your conditions equal 100%, and they're all deemed static, but you have this GERD 1 at 30% with a future exam, in some cases, the VA may just keep you at scheduler rating, even though all of your other conditions are static, meaning that they're not going to get better, and the VA has already determined that they're not going to get better, and they do not have any future exams for any of those. You need to notify the VA, hey VA, just so you know, this 30% GERD with a future exam, it could be a 0. I don't need it. I'm already at 100 static. Please make me permanent and total. What they'll do is they'll make you permanent and total because you have enough statics to get you to permanent and total. Then what they'll do is they will end or cancel, get rid of any future exams for that GERD rating that you have, because it doesn't change your overall rating. So even if you went to a future exam for that GERD and they went, hey, hallelujah, you're cured, you're going down to 0%, it doesn't change your overall rating. So it's a waste of resources for the VA to do that. So you just got to kind of be aware of everything with regard to your ratings, and if they're static. If they're not, you can call the VA, ask them. You can work with an accredited rep, ask them to peek into your file and see if they have access to the VA, which most accredited reps would have access to the VA system, to check the status on your current rated conditions, on if they're static or not, and make sure that you know where you're at. I mean, we can't operate blind here. We have to know where we're at in order to know where we need to go. So with that, thanks so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you so very much. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.